Good evening and welcome to the Revere School Committee's meeting of January 18th, 2022. Please rise to salute the flag. Roll call the members.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo. Here. Mr. Ferranti.
Here.
Ms. Gravelisi.
Here.
Mr. Kingston.
Here.
Mrs. Millsbury Ellis.
Here.
Ms. Ty.
Here.
Mayor Arrigo.
Here. We will move on to the consent calendar.
Motion to accept the consent calendar as discussed at the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Rizzo, seconded by Mr. Ferranti. Roll call of the members.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Millsbury Ellis.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes. We'll now move on to the student representative report. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, in this representative presentation, I'll be mentioning sports, school updates, clubs, some questions, comments, and answers from the students and vice principals. We'll be starting off with football. So last time I wasn't able to get as much information due to Mr. Cicatelli's absence, but he reached out to me, and here are a few things that he told me about the football team. Starting off, the season finished with an 8-2 record against Winthrop. They played and won against Lynn Classical, Lynn English, Somerville, Malden, Everett, Peabody, and Chelsea. The team has had a lot of success this past year, and the winning percentage has risen over the past 7 to 8 years. They play second in the Greater Boston League. The training and workouts usually start in January all the way through summer, and then the season starts in August. The freshmen and sophomores are learning the fundamentals, while the seniors have been doing really well leading the rest of the team. Basketball, swimming, track. So the girls basketball team won against Stoneham High School with a score of 42-35. The boys basketball team are playing at the Boston Garden against Hamilton Wenham High School. The boys track team won against Medford with a score of 48-37. And the swim team competed and won against Somerville and Lynn English and lost against Malden. Some school updates. So the elevator is due for an inspection as the expiration date is the 28th of February. After the semester, I'm planning on making a focus group specifically on Black and queer queens and the dehumanization and discrimination against them. This was inspired by Mr. Sanelli's focus group a couple months ago, which I personally participated in. Miss O'Hara has started to make the New Year's book for our senior class. The seniors are currently selling goodies for 2 weeks in order to raise money for their class. Carolina Betero has been named Greater Boston League co-MVP. The National Honor Society is sponsoring a drive for winter necessities. Every 2 items equals 1 hour community service. The swim team raised $200 through a bake sale, and the boys basketball team is selling tickets for the Boston Garden game through Venmo. Now clubs. So the Boston Student Association is in the process of gathering an adequate amount of students to start meetings and plan events. The science team gathers weekly on Tuesdays after school to run science discussions, hear from STEM guest speakers, and prepare for the monthly competitions, which take place on the 2nd of every Tuesday of every month, which each competition consists of 3 theme events in the realms of biology, chemistry, physics, astronomy, and or engineering. Students compete against 15 plus other schools in the North Shore region. Competitions have been virtual from 2020 to 2022, but typically they would be held in person. The Red Cross. So students meet bi-weekly in this club on Wednesdays to plan a variety of events related to fundraising for disastrous and medical access as informational sessions about fire safety and first aid. The club has 5 student leaders, which are all juniors, and they have about 30 active members, and they're very excited to about the Red Cross mission. The mock trial team. The state did not run the program last year, but this year they will. So the club centers around learning the law and how a court works in order to stage a mock trial competition. The entire state stages 1 competition, and each school has a chance to stage 3 trials. Students play the prosecution and the defense at least once. This club teaches students to read critically, analyze different kinds of texts, learn how to write and perform direct and cross examinations, how to write open and closing statements, and most importantly, gives them a chance to speak in public and think on their feet. So last year there were no trials, but the 3 trials for this year are just around the corner. The first one will be against Reading High School on Wednesday of the 1st, 19th. The next trial will be against Medford on the 26th, and their last, unless they win all of them in advance, will be on February 2nd against a yet-to-be-named school. Unfortunately, all these trials are virtual this year. While the link cannot be made fully for public, if anyone is interested to watch, they can contact Mr. Constello and Ms. Kalatov for a Zoom invite. Revere Environmental Voice. So the Revere's Environmental Voice designs and carries out local projects concerning the environment. They run a community garden outside the school building and have recently finished a disaster relief project where they disseminated information on disaster relief resources. The newest project is to map the accessibility of disaster escape routes in Revere against the average SES, so socioeconomic status, of families in each neighborhood. The Feminist Empowerment Movement Club held a bake sale this past week and will be holding a 61 days of awareness event. Each color corresponds with a specific cause, and starting this Friday, we will wear black for women's independence and equality. Well, Chelsea, the Youth Health Leadership Council has noticed students increase in anxiety and impatience after the new year. As a result, they're placing multiple boxes full of materials, quotes, and QR codes linked to hotlines in each class as a means to calm down the students' intense emotions. Questions, comments, answers. These are by the students. So last time there were questions regarding the special ed students, which I brought to Dr. Pella's attention. However, I thought it was more suited for someone who worked in the department. So I contacted Mr. Mackey, who works with students in the life skill program here in RHS. Here are the responses. So a lot of students have seen special education students roaming around the hallways alone, without guidance during times like this, like when they have panic attacks in the lunchroom due to the noise. A lot of students aren't aware of what to do because they weren't taught about it, and they want to know like where the teacher when they're alone, etc. Mr. Mackey answered with, there are students with disabilities with ranging needs. As a life skill teacher, I can speak to our students, always having professionals with them or close behind them. He agrees that as a school, there could be a better job providing more meaningful inclusion opportunities, though they currently have an inclusive opportunities club, and they are working on starting a unified track and field stream. The Life Skills Classroom also offers an internship during which you can work with students in their classrooms for school credit, so students may reach out to their guidance counselor if they're interested in that. Many students seem to be angry over the educational system that special needs students have. Though they're supposed to be integrated in the school, it looks like they've been casted aside. Most students see them when they're like collecting trash or recycling. Students wanted to know like what the reason behind this was. So Mr. Mackey says that the previous answers mainly answers this question here above. As for the rest, he thinks that it is incumbent on all of us to recognize all the jobs as having dignity. Collecting trash and or recycling is a fundamental job to our society. We would all notice very quickly if people with these jobs decided to stop working. In addition, a primary focus of the life skills classroom is building job and life skills. The job of recycling within the building gives our students a wonderful opportunity to practice hands-on job skills as well as collaborating and communicating within a team. It also helps our students navigate and be seen regularly throughout their school building, which I can attest because I get to see them more often around the school. Usually I wouldn't. So where does the funding for the students go? As a teacher, he said that he doesn't really, that it's a little bit above his pay grade to know. However, students with disabilities receive many supports to make progress academically, socially, and vocationally. Those supports include paraprofessionals, speech therapists, and other service providers general education students don't typically have. On to the grading policy. So teachers wanted to know if students knew what the grading policy was. So I went around and asked students of different ages, classes, and grades if they knew what the grading policy was. Most, if not all, the responses were no. For that reason, I reached out to the vice principal of the Blue House, Ms. Yesselman, and asked her a few questions. Grading policy. Is there a grading policy, and if so, what is it? In regards to the CBL system, can you go into further detail on what it is and what it's supposed to accomplish? She answered that they do have a grading policy. The grades themselves, as outlined in our student handbook, follow an A+ to F trajectory. The concept behind competency-based education is simple. Learning is best measured by students demonstrating mastery of learning rather than the number of hours spent in a classroom. They will be preparing each student more effectively for a future in an increasingly global and competitive economy. Some key aspects of the CBL education system is 1. Students are empowered to make an important decision about their learning experiences, how will they create and apply knowledge, and how they will demonstrate their learning. Number 2 is the assessment is very meaningful, positive, empowering learning experience for students that yield timely, relevant, and actionable evidence. 3, students receive timely, differentiated support based on their individual learning needs. 4, students progress based on evidence of mastery, not seat time. 5, students learn actively using different pathways and varied pacing. 6, strategies to ensure equity for all students are embedded in the culture, structure, and pedagogically of schools and education system. Lastly, number 7, rigorous common expectations for learning are explicit, transparent, measurable, and transferable. Honors. So students wanted to know why the honors program was discontinued. She stated the honors program was discontinued because of a few different important reasons. The first and main reason is tied to equity. Research across the board shows that tracking disproportionately leads to black and brown students being left out. Access to honors. For any example, I've linked links so you guys can visit and do further research. I talked to a few students about this. They claimed how that detracting doesn't help target any of the problems that we have here at RHS if the other elements of inequity are addressed. So they explained how tracking is a way to individualize learning, whereas in a detract room, you have a room full of students that all learn at completely different paces, which is difficult to manage. Students are stating how there are teachers who still educationally disparage students, as well as do and say racist things. In short, the students believe that we should get back the honors program and try to fix the equity issues with a different approach. Funding. There has been a few discussions on funding our sport teams. Students, specifically ones who are in different sport teams, are complaining about the fact how they believe the football team has more funding compared to their own. Allegedly, coaches have had to raise their own money for transportation, etc. An example of this is with the swim team that I mentioned earlier. Signatures. So I just found this out today. Sophomore DeAndre Revere, is collecting signatures throughout the school to get another unisex bathroom. You can see this as Dr. Prella sent an email with a linked survey to collect more signatures rather than walking around to collect them. Personally, I believe that if we aren't able to get another one for the current RHS, there should be multiple in the new RHS. This is especially helpful to students who don't fit into the traditional genders, as they don't have to choose a specific bathroom, which can add to their gender dysphoria. I think we should focus on representing them and giving them some comfort. Transitional music. A while ago, the improvement team surveyed students during advisory. Some students stated how they wanted the music during passing periods to come back. They claimed that it made the school day more fun, especially if they knew the song, because you could sing along. It removed the tension in the school. Lastly, a reminder that students haven't forgotten about the promise Dr. Perella and the administration made with students after the protest held at City Hall. Students are still waiting and hope expectations will be met. As students promised, they will be holding the school accountable. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you again. Any members have any questions or comments? Mr. Kingston?
I too would like to see a return to the honors program. I went to school here. I was an honor student at the time. Ms. Ty forgets, I think. And I had her in class. And I was a pretty good student, Ms. Ty. Anyway, I think the honors program is important. I think it helps with college placement. And I do think that the honors program should come back based on talking to a number of people, both students and staff. Thank you.
Mr. Kingston, thank you. Any other? Ms. Milbury-Ellis?
I just wanted to thank you for that insightful and thorough report. I've learned probably more about what's going on in high school, and I mean, I got a bit nostalgic listening to you, but I appreciate the effort that you put into it. If you could send that to me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other members? Ms. Ty?
Oh, I echo that praise. I told her that, you know, we've had great student representatives before, but I think she goes beyond great as far as sharing information in detail. And she must speak to so many people and spend so much time, and then to give us this presentation, just, I mean, outstanding. Thank you, Elmy.
Excellent. We will now move on to the public speak portion of this evening's meeting. Dr. Kelly, if there is anyone in our Zoom, please raise your hand and you can be promoted to be able to share your thoughts.
As of right now, there's no one.
Okay.
Motion to close that portion?
Mrs. Rizzo has a motion to close. Seconded by
Need a
Mr.
motion?
Ferranti. And all in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. We will move on to the superintendent report. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have 4 presentations this evening. The first one is from the Lincoln School on deeper learning and building thinking classrooms at the Lincoln. And Principal Humas has joined us. And Sarah, I'm going to ask, who else should I bring up to join you?
Jamie Anderson, Lindsay Cordes, Maricela Mangris, Colleen
Hold
O'Keefe,
on. Lindsay
and
Cordes.
Casey. Oh, sorry.
I'm at Lindsay. And then who else did you say?
Maricela Mangris,
Okay, give me one
Colleen
second.
O'Keefe,
Okay.
and Casey Woods.
You see. All right, everybody should be here. And I have your presentation queued up. I am going to share my screen, and you all can introduce yourselves and then take us through the presentation.
Great. I actually have an introduction built in, so we'll just get right to it if that's okay. Good evening, and of course, thank you for having us and giving us the opportunity to share our work on building thinking classrooms and deeper learning. Joining us tonight is Jamie Anderson, reading intervention teacher, Lindsay Cordes, deeper learning consulting teacher, Marissa Lemanquist, art teacher, Colleen O'Keefe, kindergarten teacher, Casey Woods, 5th grade math and science teacher. And I'd like to take a minute to thank them as well for both all of this work and for presenting tonight. Our Deeper Learning Initiative is guided by our School Improvement Plan goal, which is to ensure teaching practices across the curriculum and classroom focus on effective student-centered deeper learning experiences. And our benchmark is that classroom practice will show an increase in the incidence of students engaging in deeper learning and student-centered activities. And with that, I will the team delve into the details of what thinking classrooms in deeper learning look like in practice. So I'm going to give it over to Colleen.
Thank you. So over at the Lincoln, we've been working on this deeper learning initiative for the past several years. We've been bringing in elements from Kaleidoscope, MCIEA, and the Maple Walks to help us shift to a student-centered teaching model. And we try to include choice and voice in as many lessons throughout the day as possible. The Deeper Learning Initiative helps provide access points to students who were behind and allows them to learn the material in a new way that is more approachable to them. So the rest of this presentation, you will basically get to follow a day in the life of a 5th grade student at the Lincoln School. This slide kind of gives you a schedule of what they would go through, and you'll get to hear from some of the teachers and some of the student feedback as well.
The deeper learning task that I'm working on with my students is called thinking tasks. So these tasks are when students are given a problem and they're put into a random group, meaning they're working with students and peers of all different abilities, and they're given a problem that they have to work through and solve together. These problems are multi-step and they have a bunch of different answers. So this really challenges the students to come up with a solution in a way that is unique for them and works for them as well. One part about the thinking tasks that I love is that students cannot write their own ideas down. So on a big whiteboard, if they have something they really want to write down, they have to have another student do it. That way they're really articulating their thinking, and then they also are having students who may not be as strong in math or, hang towards the back more, they're really bringing them to the forefront as well. It really helps the students create ownership over the entire problem itself. On this slide, we have some examples of student work. On the left-hand side is more of an exemplar. So these students were really able to format their work. You can see all of their computations nice and neat below. They have their answers circled. This was a group that really worked well together and succeeded in the think task. On the right-hand side, we have a group that struggled more with this think task. If you look closely, you can tell that they probably erased their board over and over again. It really was a struggle for them to come up with a solution. You can kind of see they were able to start formatting their work in a way that was more conducive to the problem. And they were able to do that through looking at other groups of work. We encourage that during think tasks. That way they can, gather knowledge from all aspects of the room. And then this is my student, Annie. She's just going to tell you a little bit about what she thinks about the think tasks.
I'm going to quickly stop sharing. I don't think I clicked that play the audio button, so let me just share sound. Okay.
I think the thinking task is easier with the whiteboards because we can see from the future others' whiteboards and we can learn from them.
Paul, can you turn up the volume?
appearing on TV?
I think the thinking test is easier with the whiteboards because we can see from the screenshots of the whiteboards and we can learn from them.
All right, are
Okay,
we back in the
so-
right spot?
Yes, that's the right spot.
Okay.
So during I'm the reading interventionist at the Lincoln, and during 5th grade WIN block, students in my group use the Read 180 program, and this is a reading intervention program for upper elementary students. And one component of this program is the independent reading piece. And during this rotation, students choose a book of their choice based on their individual Lexile levels. So for this project here, students worked on a reading response choice board as they completed their books. And then when students completed their first novel, they chose one response from their choice board to be featured in our class reading quilts. So that picture of the group of them is the final product, and the quilt includes responses from all the different books that were read during class. So this was a simple project that invited the students to kind of collaborate and take ownership of their own reading books while still sticking to the structure of the reading program that we were using. So this next slide is Ava, and she's just talking a little bit more about this project.
I think it was different, and we would be able to choose a book instead of Miss Anderson giving us one, because we want to know what's interesting for us and not what Miss Anderson gives us. And it's fun seeing other people's quilts that we haven't done because they're doing a different book.
You guys are going to have to teach me how to switch back from videos back into the PowerPoint at some point. Let me just reopen it here. All right.
All right. Hi, I am the art teacher at the Lincoln School. I am Marissa Lindquist. So I am working with Lindsay on creating more choice for my students in the art room. And she kind of connected me, I was looking for a project, and she connected me with ELA teacher Stephanie Magno. And she was having her students write about this book called Scranimals, which she introduced me to. The kids really loved the book. The premise of the book is that it's a magical land where animals are combined with fruits or vegetables to create these crazy imaginative creatures. So in her class, they decided what they were going to combine, like a blueberry penguin, and they wrote in their ELA class. They had a choice in their ELA writing whether they did a poem or a narrative. Then they brought that to the art room. We can switch down to the next slide, where I've already had them working on choice stations. So to give students more of a choice in the materials that they're using, I introduced different stations around the room with materials, and the kids would use a card to choose what station they were going to use for their artwork. So for this trimester, our theme was to illustrate their Scranimals writing. They really loved working on this. They loved kind of bringing their writing creation to life. Something that we had a challenge with, or that I had to kind of adjust my expectations for, was that process versus product. So the goal here is to have really authentic creative expression from the kids. And because they're not getting a how-to from me, their finished result might not be like that thing that, you know, is gonna go right on the fridge. It was more about the process than the finished product. And that's not really something that they're used to doing, and it's not really something that the teachers are used to doing either. So definitely working to find that balance in the future on these choice projects between the process and the product. Yeah, and this is Annie again, responding to her Scramble artwork. That one with the little mushrooms was hers.
So I think it was cool because you had to write and then you had to create art about it. So then it will create a meaningful story, stuff like that.
Cool. Oh, I figured it out.
So what we're seeing at the Lincoln School is that they are really working hard to create and sustain this deeper learning initiative. So these are some things that we have already in the Lincoln School schedule in the day that are continuing to happen, and some things that are going to continue to move the deeper learning initiative forward. So right now they already have dedicated PLG time for working on deeper learning tasks and activities. They have 11 tasks submitted to the MCIA task bank, with 6 fully validated, and that is the most in the MCIA consortium of fully validated tasks. We had a full school professional development on deeper learning, and it was differentiated based on needs and experience of faculty. So we had the newer teachers were working on what is MCIA, while the more veteran teachers were looking at how to implement more than just tasks into their classroom. So those were smaller, deeper learning activities that were happening throughout the day. The Lincoln School was selected as the MCIA pilot school to pilot a task bank and student portfolio work, which came attached to some grant money and some highlighting of the work that they have already been doing and the work that they continue to do. And they have 13 staff members working with myself as the Deeper Learning C2C, which really just continues to show the commitment of the staff to continue to give up their prep, to give up the time to really hold deeper learning to a high regard. I believe I'm that. So that's what we have for you. Does the committee have any questions or anything that we can clear up for you?
Do any members have any questions or comments? No?
So can I?
Dr. Kelly.
Yeah. So I'll just say, and this kind of speaks to your point, Mrs. Rizzo, from earlier about making the connection to our district improvement plan. As you know, we've been working with the MCIEA, Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Educational Assessment, for quite some time now. And the Lincoln School, some of our other schools as well, but the Lincoln School really has been a pioneer in moving forward with that work. And it's also related to the work that we're doing through the Harvard Deeper Learning Dozen program, that we are one of 12 school districts in North America, the US and Canada, who were invited to be part of that program because of the work that we've been doing around performance tasks and deeper learning experiences. We also have 2 schools, so Lincoln is one of them, that are members of the Kaleidoscope Network, which is through the Department of Education. So I really have to applaud the Lincoln teachers because they have embraced this idea that when you create lessons that students find interesting, first of all, and are well written, but also where students have the opportunity to express themselves in their work, they're far more likely to get engaged, and they're far more likely to actually master the content as a result of that. So I really have to give high praise to the Lincoln teachers who have embraced that wholeheartedly. It is a district initiative, but we've seen so much more progress at the Lincoln School on those initiatives. So kudos to Principal Humus and all of the teachers, and kudos to the school committee who, in their wisdom, allowed us to hire a deeper learning coach this year, which is Lindsay Cordes. So she's able to spend her time full-time helping teachers develop their skills in those areas. And I really think those are the kinds of things, Elnie, that we were talking about before. When all classrooms function that way, then there will be more equity, and we won't have to focus on who's in honors and who's not in honors. The kids will be able to demonstrate that as they feel themselves ready to do so. And that way no students are left out of the opportunity to have that advanced coursework. Every student will be engaged in that advanced coursework. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Tremendous work.
All right, we'll let you guys all take off and bring in the next group. Thank you very much. All right, up next we have a presentation from the Paul Revere School, and they're going to talk to us about the Innocent classroom and the anti-racism training that they've been engaged in all this year. And with us is Principal Donna Bonarigo. And Donna, who do you want me to bring up? Who's presenting with you?
Dr. Kelly, Kelly Lynch-Williams and Mary Jane Crossman are presenting with me this evening.
Okay. Kelly, and who else did you say?
Mary Jane Crossman or MJ Crossman.
I've got her, yep. Mm-hmm. Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
Hi, MJ. I'm going to pull your presentation up right now. Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
Looks good, thank you.
Okay.
So first, we'd like to just thank the school committee for inviting us here tonight to talk with you and explain a little bit about this program that we started last year at Paul Revere School and have continued on this year. I want to thank Kelly and MJ for presenting with me tonight. They are both our equity advisors at our building, so they are leading the work in our building and coordinating with the district on our behalf. Kelly is our teacher at our building, and MJ teaches 5th grade math. So just by way of a little bit of background, Innocent Classroom was founded by someone named Alex Pate, who is a novelist, a poet, a college professor. If you go back to the previous slide, Dr. Kelly.
Okay.
He started this program as a part of his own reflection of his own experiences as a Black child. He felt he was always seen through a filter of negative stereotypes that pervade our society. And he writes in his book that he never felt that anyone outside of his family and friends really understood him or understood who he was, really knew him as a person. So Innocent Classroom is a program that he created to train educators to help us to better understand and develop authentic relationships with our students, especially students of color and students from other marginalized groups.
So with that, the past 2 years, the Paul Revere had developed a committee, and we have a bunch of committees, but one of them is the Equity and Anti-Racism Committee, which last year the 14 members listed here participated in the training in order to help lead it for the rest of the staff this year. So this year, moving forward, we have majority of our full-time educators participating in the first half of the training, which is 5 sessions in total.
Next slide, please.
So Donna gave a little background about Innocent Classroom, but really the mission of it is to dismantle racial bias. And it's focusing on the basic fact that every child should know what it's like to feel innocent. So to believe that the world is open to them, but our society's stereotypes stand in the way, and that kind of manifests itself in the form of guilt, which we'll kind of dive into in a moment. So the Innocent Classroom, as Donna mentioned, partners with administrators, principals, and classroom teachers to help them build relationships that liberate children of color from the power of racial stereotypes in their schools and classrooms.
Next slide.
The founder, Alex Pate, said that children of color are being held in virtual bondage to the negative stereotypes that our culture has developed and perpetuated about them. And he's the founder of Innocent Classroom. And what he means by that is that children of color come into our classrooms aware of these negative narratives about them. The negative stereotypes create feelings of guilt in these students of color. So what Innocent Classroom trains us to do is to recognize how these negative narratives can affect their relationship, our relationships as teachers with these students. So the Innocent Classroom aims to train teachers to truly know their students of color as individuals, freeing them of this guilt and restoring them of the innocence.
Next slide, please. So really the work, the bulk of the work that we're doing is we are, first of all, focusing on certain children in our classrooms, two to three students, and really thinking deeply about those students. And one of the things that we focus on is what Innocent Classroom calls the good. And it's a little bit complicated because your natural inclinations think of, oh, what's good, what's the child's good aspects or what's good in them, and that really isn't what the good is. That good is a term from Aristotle, meaning that for which all else is done. But basically it refers to, it's more akin to the idea of like what motivates a student or what is really important to a child. And the good of a child is really framed by that child's unique experiences. So it really represents that child's unique humanity. So when we understand a child's good, it helps us to understand why the child behaves or responds in a certain way. It helps us to understand, why they do the things they do, why they think the way they think about things that may not be the way that we think about things because we're coming from a different perspective. And also why they may respond the way that they do that may seem unexpected to us, but once you get to know a child and understand what their good is, what's motivating them, what's important to them, what their experiences have led them to see the world as, then the way that the things that they do make more sense for us and we're better able to meet them where they are. Next slide, please.
So, as Donna was saying, some of the examples of good are free, sense of belonging, safe, cared for, normal, smart, stable, successful, accepted, respected, untroubled, hopeful, survival, and validated.
We can move on. So as the teachers who got the training before the full staff, we learned some background about this. What is the good? What is the guilt? And so now we're having the opportunity to really dive into this work, and we're choosing a couple students, as Donna mentioned, to focus on. And we were encouraged to choose students who we felt would really benefit from some extra attention on the relationship. And so, first we are kind of mentored into how to observe them, understand their reality, identify with them, and then really start to relate to them and interact with them. And I think, as teachers, we naturally do a lot of these things, but the beneficial part of this training is really having that focused attention on your relationship with a specific student. It kind of brings to light some of the things that you might have missed before. So we, understand the child's good. It's building that authentic relationship. And the goal is that this relationship then frees the student from the burden of guilt that comes with the stereotype. So when they enter your classroom or the school, they know that they're in a safe space. And so when they are perceived as innocent, then that opens them up to be able to learn and to succeed socially and academically. So just to kind of highlight and give more of an example, I wanted to just share personally, I have chosen a student this year who, you know, I had heard, being a fifth grade teacher, you kind of hear the stories that come up from the years below. And so one of my students seemed to, you know, struggle with following expectations and things like that. And so I chose him to focus on as one of my 3 students. And so in observing him and getting to know him more, I've kind of started to identify his good as he wants to be free. I can see that, like, that's part of his humanity and normal, right? He wants to be accepted and belong and loved. And so, you know, I can see that demonstrating itself as behaviors. He can be a silly 5th grader trying to be the class clown. And he wants to have fun and blend in with his peers at the same time. So in order to foster that relationship, I just try to make sure that I allow space for that, you know, in the free time that we do have here and there. And sometimes I've found that because I've built that relationship with him and I've centered our relationship on those good things about him, there's moments where he's off task and needs direction, and I can focus in on that good. And I can maybe leave a little space for us to have a silly conversation for a moment and then get back. And he's much more receptive to that type of interaction than if I just, you know, called him out in front of the whole class. And so I hope that kind of helps to highlight, you know, exactly, it's different for every child, it's different for every teacher, but I think just having that focused attention and, you know, honing in on a couple of students really helps us, and it benefits all of the students because we really start to think about the specifics of how our relationship is manifesting itself in the classroom.
Next slide, please. So I also wanted to add that this work, the reason why we chose to work with this program is our MCIEA school quality measures and our vocal data from MCAS did identify that there was a significant number of students at our school who did not feel connected to teachers, who did not feel understood at school. And we felt that we really needed some training to help us to better connect with students from diverse backgrounds. And I think that this work has really helped us to recognize implicit bias and to recognize how, I know personally for me, I've stopped myself and said, am I really understanding what's going on here, or am I being affected by negative stereotypes that I know I've been exposed to, that maybe I'm defaulting to those rather than really thinking what's truly happening in the situation. So last year we did have, our committee did 3 sessions of training. We do 3 more sessions this year. And we're also doing 5 workshops this year. We did 1 last year at the end of the year, an immersion workshop. But our workshops this year are these dates and these topics. So we focus on each one of these aspects of relationship building and developing and dismantling bias, racial bias. On these topics, and the trainers from Innocent Classroom guide us with sort of whole group discussion activity, and then we break off into smaller groups where we talk together about students. We don't use names, we just talk generally about students that we're working on and thinking about, and trying to, you know, puzzle through what their good might be, what strategies we can use. And this is really the end goal, is to help students be successful in school, to realize their academic potential, their full academic potential. And it is connected to our strategic plan. It's connected to Initiative 3.1, which is to create, adapt, and apply equitable practices. And our hope is that this program will help us to do that. Next slide, please.
And like Donna said, in hopes at the end of this training, we do hope that all of our staff would take the Pledge of Innocence, which is, I pledge as an educator of children of diverse backgrounds, races, genders, sexualities, abilities, and beliefs, that I will strive to know each child separate and apart from the stereotypes that contextualize their existence. I pledge upon discovery of their good to engage with them in a way that their good is nourished and they are capable of showing up as innocent in my space.
So that's our presentation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any members have any questions or comments? Mrs. Rizzo.
Thank you for that very just a really warm presentation, something that we can all learn by in finding the good. We talk about the 4 R's and how relationship is one of the major R's. But in order to foster that relationships, we have to find that good, as you said, and nourish it. And that's how we need to define relationships. And you are doing that over at Paul Revere. But I will say, and I'm not surprised, I saw a social media post. Normally, they're not always good for the most part. But this one particular post talked about teacher retention and support of teachers. And one of your educators had responded to it by saying, so grateful to be at Paul Revere with the absolute best administration and staff. And it's just, it's so warm to hear those kind words coming from your staff. And many others followed with the same opinion as the first one. And what you're doing with the innocence and the relationship part just shows how inviting Paul Revere is. And thank you for everything you do over there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other? Elmi, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think you guys have done well through your actual observations and acting upon them. I just wanted to back them up by speaking on some of my experiences. So talking about the negative narratives in the relationship with teachers, I think there's this negative narrative on Black students that we can be really aggressive, especially when we're trying to give our opinion. So when someone is listening to us, they're more on the offensive side instead of trying to hear and listen to what we're trying to say. And I think in negative narratives, in elementary, you lose your innocence, okay? I remember in 5th grade, there was this kind of guilt. I remember beauty was kind of measured by your skin color. So I know there wasn't a lot of, I wouldn't say POC because we live in Massachusetts, but there wasn't anybody who was dark skinned like me, even though I'm not that dark. So I wasn't really really high up in the list, and that made me feel really guilty, and I would want to try to use skin lightening soaps and all that stuff. So before I went through my search of self-love and all those things. And continuing with the relationship with teachers, I think with POC and diversity and not being able to understand, I felt this in class before where some students would be speaking and the teachers would think they're screaming or being loud, but that's just the volume of their voice because that's how their household speaks. It's not necessarily that they're trying to be rude, but that's just how it is for them. And I just think that they really touched a lot of key points and that I went through and I agree with, and I just wanted to say I really appreciated it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Any other members?
Can I check on?
Ms. Ty.
I'd just like to note that the Paul Revere School was the first innovation school in the state and has a wonderful governing board, a superior principal, a wonderful staff. Every presentation that comes before us is an A+ presentation, always thorough, always always really positive. And I think there's a lot of credit to the governing board for that, and a lot more credit to the principal who sets that atmosphere for the teachers. And you have a wonderful staff there too, and wonderful students. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kelly?
Sure, I'll just briefly echo what Ms. Ty just said. I talked before about the Lincoln School being a real space for forward thinking and really changing how we do education in a way that can help students be successful. But as Ms. Ty pointed out, the Paul Revere is our innovation school, and we have learned so much from the work that the teachers at the Paul Revere have pioneered, and then we've brought to other elementary schools. So I want to thank the Paul Revere staff for not only the incredible work that they do, but also for being the sharing, caring adults who help the rest of the district learn from their experiences after they take trainings such as this one, and help give us all practices that make our collective work better. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity to share.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the superintendent's report is a presentation from Shane Johnson, who you all know is our new director at the Parent Information Center down at the Beachmont School. And Shane has already done a lot of great work on the transformation that we're trying to make down there. As you know, we've separated the Parent Information Center from our English Learner Services directorship, so that we have Shane at the PIC, and then also a dedicated EL director. And Jennifer and Shane work together closely all the time, but I'll let Shane tell you more about that. And he's just going to share a little bit tonight about the work that they've already undertaken in the last 6 months since Shane took over, and also some of his plans for the future. So Shane, I will pull up your video while you say, your slideshow while you say hello to everybody.
All right. Good evening to the school committee and the Revere community. My name again is Shane Johnson, and I'm the Parent Information Center Coordinator. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about the great and necessary work that the Parent Information Center does for the city and the school. The name Parent Information Center can be a little bit misleading. While it is true that parents in the community will call our office to ask about general school information, the name doesn't capture most of what we do and what we hope to do in the future. Go to the next slide. The PIC is the first interaction a new family has with Revere Public Schools. Our office sets the tone for the rest of their school experience. Whether it's a transfer from another district, another country, or a child that has reached school age, the PIC is the place that transforms the child into a student, and it is there where they start their educational journey. Every student who has been moved by the quality education that Revere Public Schools provides was placed in a school by our office. What we do touches upon everything else. I illustrate this point humorously with the image of an octopus. I could probably add a few more tentacles, but I'll just talk a little bit about some of the things our office does. When a child comes in, we review their educational history with provided transcripts and records, or we reach out to other schools to secure them when the parents aren't able to provide us that. We evaluate their English language skills in coordination with the ELL department in our office, and we connect them to ELL services when they're needed. We communicate their special ed needs to the STEM department and communicate with them to ensure that they're placed in school with those services in mind. We collect and review any medical documents, and our nurse communicates to other school nurses the health needs of our students before they're placed. We also provide information about testing and vaccine sites for the public when they come in and ask. Our office confirms a student's residency in the city of Revere by reviewing multiple documents, utility bills, leases, rental contracts, and through investigations when necessary. Our office is the point of contact for the Department of Children and Families, and it intersects with the courts and other state agencies in that process. The same is true for our homeless students, unaccompanied youth, refugees, and other vulnerable populations. We communicate census data with City Hall, and we even connect families to social services like SNAP benefits and Mass Health. When the district needs documents translated into Spanish, Portuguese, or Arabic, we link those communities to the school by translating documents for them. And of course, our efforts ensure accurate record keeping through the use of data systems like PowerSchool. Go to the next slide. So far this year, for the 2021-2022 school year, we've registered over 1,425 new students. You can see where some of the breakdown goes as far as kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high school. I want to emphasize that this is so far. As the new year starts, many new immigrant families, in Latin America in particular, whose school year ends in December, they make their move to the United States around this time. So we always see a large influx of these families around this time of year. And we're also about to begin our kindergarten pre-registration process for the following year in late February, early March. The Parent Information Center was once a place where students were simply registered to go to school, but we have a bigger vision than this. We all know that educational success depends on more than academics. Imagine the Parent Information Center as a place where families can inquire about whatever enrichment or support opportunities the city or state is involved in. In the future, we want to both strengthen our relationships with state organizations and community agencies, and forge new ones to increase what our office has to offer Revere families. In the last few years, we have begun offering SNAP application assistance, and through those efforts, we were able to achieve community eligibility for Revere. What that means is that every student was automatically conferred free lunch status. It was because of this that when the pandemic hit, we were able to secure pandemic EBT benefits to all students, boosting their food budgets during a difficult time. This was especially helpful to our undocumented families, as they often don't qualify for other state services. Our office also delivered bagged lunches and Chromebooks to families during the pandemic as well, to ensure that they were fed and to ensure that they had access to online forms of learning during the quarantine period. Thanks to the nurse that you provided our office, we were able to coordinate her work with the social service outreach liaison and assist families in securing mass help. Just recently, we coordinated with other nearby school districts to provide a newcomers clinic, helping those without physicals or immunizations coming from other countries secure them at no cost in order to attend school. Some ideas we're exploring include establishing a community fridge as a means to deal with food insecurity. This could also potentially give older students in the high school a chance to engage in community service to help manage that project. Another idea we have is creating channels of long-term communication with vulnerable groups who come to our office, such as refugees, so that we can have a constant dialogue between those groups to understand the unique challenges they face and how we can further assist them and coordinate with the schools to assist those groups. As you know, the equity audit has invited us to engage diverse groups and their families in a more concerted way. I believe that in doing this, we should explore the possibility of having a dedicated translation department, as I think this would enable us to devote more time and energy into family engagement while also streamlining both translation and interpreting needs for the district, which continue to grow as our demographics shift. We've also had some difficulty in becoming fully staffed, and I believe if we dedicate more resources to staff, we could retain and attract people long-term to our office and the important work we do. In the meantime, we're working to create a more welcoming space, in part through the generous contributions the committee recently approved for PIC renovations. We're looking to give the PIC a fresh look by painting the office, getting a new sign, new furniture, among other things. And we're exploring the needs to ways to eliminate the need for filing cabinets by going paperless when possible. And of course, we want to celebrate the multicultural community we have in Revere through the use of art and other projects. This is just a little bit of what we're up to. I want to thank you for your attention, and please feel free to reach out to me with questions or ideas.
Any members have any questions or comments? Mrs. Rizzo.
Just thank you so much for your presentation, and I really look forward to the vision that you have given to us. There's some great resources there, and hopefully over time that vision will be seen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? Okay. Thank you, Shane. Great job.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Shane.
you.
I'll just say, as somebody who's been watching the work that you've been doing down there closely, it's amazing to already feel the difference and feel the change that families have communicated to me when they come and they enroll, and just the more connectedness between our newly arriving families and how to really help them to understand how they get what they need in order to progress. So, great job.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, the last item on the superintendent's report was just a chance for an update to the entire committee, which I now realize I didn't know when we were planning the agenda that most of you would be at the meeting last week. But in any event, we wanted to just have an opportunity to have a quick chat. I know one of the things on your agenda is to take a vote on the recommendation that the new school building committee made to identify Wonderland as the preferred site option. But our friends from Perkins Eastman and from Left Field have joined the meeting tonight, just in case there were any other questions from committee members, either of this committee or of that committee or of both. And so I don't know, Paul, if you can bring this, if you can show the panel view of this. There we go. I don't know if that's gonna. There we go. Okay. And I'll just ask Brian and Dawn and Bob and Dan, am I missing anybody?
I think this is us. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, Brian, do you want to just give a quick summary,
Sure.
or do you want me to ask the school committee members to do that? Okay.
Was that a me?
Yes, that's to you. Yeah, sorry. There's too many
Sure.
Brians in the room.
Yep, no problem. There's only one Brian that matters in the room, it's not me. So we did, we don't really need to take up anywhere near as much time as we did at the last meeting. Again, thanks for that. Thanks for the questions we got. We did go back to the building committee. The building committee has rendered a unanimous decision to site the new high school at Wonderland. So we don't really have any much new presentation material. We can revisit what we already put out there, and we certainly can answer questions, but we are looking for a motion from the school committee to basically condone that decision, to second that decision, and we'll be going and doing the same at Monday's city council meeting. And I mean, if the committee wanted me to, I think I could try to express why the decision was made, but you know, we have 4 folks on that committee who are on the building committee. They can speak as well. So you guys tell me what you think is best.
Why don't we open it up to members if they have any questions or comments, and we can go from there. Mr. Franti, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, I was wondering, have we gotten the second appraisal yet for Wonderland?
No, we haven't, and that process, the next step is actually going to be getting surveys done for what the proposed new plots are going to look like, and through that process, we'll be doing the second appraisal. So the quick answer is no, but there's a quick intermediate step we have to do to turn the whole site appraisal into a specific appraisal for a newly drawn plot.
Do we have any idea when we're expecting it?
Right now it's not scheduled. I think it's gonna, it wouldn't, I think realistically, the best answer is in the next few months. I think it's gonna probably take a number of weeks to get surveys done and have a survey of the proposed new plot and the proposed remnant plot that the owners could hang on to done. So I think it's a schematic design era, which means probably a month or 2 from now, deliverable.
Okay, thank you. And I have one question for the mayor. Mr. Mayor, have we looked into both options of purchasing the entire lot or just purchasing what we need for the school?
Yeah, that's a great question, one that as we've gone through this process, I've been kind of trying to figure out. I'm of the mindset that if we go in and take the entire site, we truly control our own destiny, both from a school building site portion and what could happen on that site additionally. So as we've gone through this, I think and I've had numerous conversations with folks about, you know, what the appetite is. It seems like, and I'm certainly supportive of taking the entire site and then being able to really plan out and have the room and space to think about what that site looks like and really what could be you know, potential other uses on that, you know, 7-8 acre portion that may be developable, and making sure that that's symbiotic to a high school and a use that the city wants to see is important, and having control of the entire site would be a key part of that. So,
All right, thank you.
Dr. Kelly. Oh, Mrs. Gravellisi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, the appraisal for the 23 million, was that for the 24 acres or was that for the whole site? I thought it was for the 24 acres.
Brian?
I can answer that. The appraisal showed that the entire site, all the holdings of the current owner, we put at 30 million. The 23 million is a prorated portion of that for the 24.5 acres that we thought we need. So if we were talking the whole site, the appraisal's 30. If we're talking just as drawn, as designed currently, 23 is the number that we're plugging in the budget.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought it was. Just wanted clarification.
Any other members? Mrs. Rizzo.
Yeah, just a comment. I think you've answered all my questions in the past 2 years. I want to say thank you to Perkins Eastman and Left Field. Your guidance and your ability to explain things have made me truly comfortable with the decision I have made. No question was stupid to you, and I know I had many. It was truly a wonderful experience in the past 2 years. I look forward with the next few years coming, and just thank you for everything you've done for the city of Revere. And I want to thank the whole building committee that really dedicated themselves to this work and will continue.
Welcome, Stacy. Keep the questions coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? No.
Well,
Ms.
Mr.
Ty.
Mayor, would it be appropriate if I claim the senior citizens privilege and make a motion?
The motion is here.
Okay.
Well, the only thing is, we were talking about it now. Why not?
A motion to take the motion out of order.
Okay. We will
Second.
take motion. We will have a motion from Mrs. Rizzo, seconded by Mr. Franzi, that we take the motion out of order.
I
Ms. Ty,
move,
go ahead.
I don't know if this is an appropriate motion, but I will be happy to accept any amendments to it that you wish. I move that we approve the building committee's decision and select the Wonderland site as the location for the new Revere High School.
Motion
So-
by Mrs.
Second.
Ty, seconded by Mrs. Rizzo. Preferred option.
The third option, amended
Preferred.
Preferred.
Vote on the preferred option. The preferred option, okay, you can just insert that. Okay?
We'll do a roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
No. Kidding. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Miss Gravelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Miss Ty.
Proudly, yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes. Motion passes.
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you so much for your leadership, Mr. Mayor.
I'd love to hear what Elnie thinks.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give a quick reminder about the unisex bathrooms. If we aren't going to put it here, then let's just think about applying it to the new school. I really want to push that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and I'll just share that for the architects and folks who are on the call. I don't know if you were all present for the beginning of the meeting, but one of the things that Elnie, our student member, mentioned was the need for an increased number of unisex bathrooms. So please put that on high on the
We
priority
heard
list.
that. We were texting, there are a few takeaways that I saw tonight, so it's helpful, and we can absolutely incorporate that into the planning of the new high school.
Awesome. All right, you guys have a great night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, congrats.
Okay. Seeing no hearings, we'll move on to the report of subcommittees. Mrs. Rizzo?
Yes, it's under new business. If we could take that out of order, that'd be appreciated. Take one, please. I guess not.
Yeah?
Yes.
Sure.
Second.
So many of the committee members got back on what they might prefer to be on the standard subcommittees for 2022. So for personnel, we have Carol Ty as the chair, with Michael Ferranti and Stacy Bronston Rizzo. Plant and maintenance would be John Kingston as the chair, Michael Ferranti and Carol Ty. Ways and Means, Michael Ferranti as the chair, John Kingston, Carol Ty. Policies and Procedures, Stacy Bronston Rizzo as the chair, Susan Gravelisi and Aisha Milbury Ellis. Health and Special Ed, Aisha Milbury Ellis as the chair, Susan Gravelisi, Stacy Rizzo. Safety and Security, Susan Gravelisi, chair, Carol Ty, John Kingston. And Equity, Inclusion and Diversity is Stacy Bronston Rizzo as the chair, Aisha Milbury Ellis, and Susan Gravelisi.
There's no formal approval, so thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rizzo. Any members have any comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to motions. Ms. Gravelisi?
Thank you, Mayor Arrigo. Okay, motion A, motion to encumber $21,000 for invoice number 14 for Left Field LLC for December 2021 professional services. So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Miss Gravelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Miss Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Motion B, motion to approve payment of invoice number 14 for Left Field LLC for December 2021 professional services. So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Miss Gravelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Miss Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Motion to encumber $21,105 for invoice number 87970.00.0-10 for Perkins Eastman Architect DPC for December 2021 professional services. So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Miss Gravelisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Miss Ty.
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Motion to approve payment of invoice number 87970.00.0-10 for Perkins Eastman Architect GPC for December 2021 professional services. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo?
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. Kingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo?
Yes.
And that concludes the motions.
Thank you, Mrs. Gravellisi. We'll move on to old business, grading and GPA. Dr. Kelly.
The committee had asked for an update on a discussion that we had, I think 2 months ago now, about grading and GPAs. And the basis of that conversation was some communication we had from parents around the GPA being impacted negatively when a student doesn't do well in a class, but then subsequently retakes the class or completes it in summer school, and their previous bad grade is not overridden by the more recent good grade. The two are kind of average, and so it can have a persistent negative impact on a student's GPA. And with all of the work that we've been doing on competency-based learning and moving in the direction of the point of education isn't about whether or not you knew the topic on Tuesday, January 19th, is that what today is? The point is, do you know the topic? And if you don't, how do we help you get to know it? Whether we as your teacher or your caregiver or your parent or your sibling or whatever the case may be. So naturally, the idea of saying, well, if you got an F in algebra and then you retook it and you got a B minus, it's the B minus is the important piece. And where this can become a difficult topic is around kind of what we were talking about earlier with the honors classes. Well, why should that student who took an extra year and an extra time to take the course get the same grade as my child who got it right out of the bat? And these are the kinds of two sides of the coin that we're grappling with as we think about this conversation. And so I did meet with the high school team on Friday. We met with Mrs. Finn from the guidance department and Dr. Perella and some of the curriculum directors. And we met with Josh Miranda, who's our physics teacher and robotics coach, but also runs the summer program. And some of the conversation we had was around whether or not the summer program is as rigorous as a traditional class. And so if somebody retakes a class in the summer session, is that worth the same weight as somebody who, say, retook it for a whole semester or a whole year during the school year? Because sometimes we have kids do that when they have room in their schedule. If they didn't pass a particular, let's say they didn't pass English 10, but there's room their senior year to retake that class, we would let them do it during the school day. So what is the difference between passing English 10 the first time out of the gate or passing it as a senior when you take it as a full course during the school day, or taking it in the summer, maybe between your sophomore and junior year or between your junior and senior year? And there are a lot of other implications that we started to talk about on Friday, but the bottom line that I wanted to share with the school committee is that they want to really think more deeply about this, and they want to engage more parents in the conversation, and they want to engage more students in the conversation. So we left Friday with the goal that they would come back to you in May with details of a proposal that they could pilot this summer. And one of the things that they were talking about is there a difference between making up a grade for a core class versus an elective? Is there a difference between repeating algebra and having that override an algebra grade? But what's different if they failed, for example, function statistics and trigonometry, but took an advanced stats course through, I forget the name of our online thing, Danielle? Apex. to make it up. Is that the same thing as repeating the course? So there's a lot of different nuances that they want to think about. And they're going to continue to meet with students and the and staff and the instructional leadership team, and come back in May with a proposal for a pilot to take place this summer, beginning the year, and then going forward. And the one thing that we all did agree on is that this policy change would have to be a forward motion policy change and not something that would be able to look backwards on. And I think that might be somewhat disappointing to some of the parents whose kids are in school right now and may have been talking about a specific course that the child struggled with this year or last year, especially in light of COVID. But everybody agreed it would be unsurmountable to try to go back and redo transcripts as a result of this.
Any members have anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to new business. We discussed the operating protocols in our committee of the whole meeting, so that will be tabled. And we've already gone over the 2022 subcommittee assignments. Any members want to speak on that? The Director of Health and Wellness, which we discussed earlier.
So we made a motion for Dr. Kelly to go forward and come up with a job description for Director of Health and Wellness. Not necessarily that title, I think we all felt the importance of this, even though all the directed positions that you gave us, right now this is one that is most needed.
Okay. Any further conversation? No. The On-Nor School. Is Lon Ray on the call?
Yes.
Okay, great. Lon Ray?
Okay. Lon Ray, can you hear me?
Hi, Lon Ray, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry, I mistakenly unmute myself.
No worries. I know there are a few other people in the attendee list. Are any of them presenting with you?
Yeah, we have, I have some of the people. One is Dr. Alizeli, Dr. Zainab Alizeli.
Yeah, okay.
Rawan. Also,
Tarek?
Brother Tarek. And I think Mr. Fadi Akawi is there too. Is he?
Is that Daniel maybe? I don't know.
Hold on, let me find out. Yeah, I think we have, hold on, let me see. We have about Saranas. Oh, that's it, okay. Just those numbers that I call.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to do the presentation. Dr. Zainab Al-Sali is the project leader and the one that is going to do the presentation.
I'm just trying to, hi everyone, I'm just trying to share my screen and it's saying it's been disabled, so do you mind enabling that if possible?
You should be able to do it now if you want to try.
Oh. Yeah, there we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for having us. It's going to be relatively quick. We have just a very short presentation ready for you. My name is Dr. Zainab El-Shal. And I'll just be presenting some of the stuff that we wanted to talk about. So just our contact, so that's me. I'm the project leader alongside with Roland Shaban, who's also on the call. We have Diakawi, who is our branch manager. As you all know, we have also Lonray, and he is our PR and outreach coordinator, and then Sheikh Tariq Abdullah, who's also on the call, and he is our imam, so he is our go-to for any religious questions and concerns. So we'll start with what is AICP. Most of you may know us, but we are the Association of Islamic Charitable Projects. And I'm going to refer to that as AICP from now on. We are a non-profit religious organization. We do have branches established worldwide, including in the US, so we have different branches within the different states of the US. We also have Australia, which is actually where I am right now. We have a very big AICP community here. There's also all around the world, in Germany, Canada, for example. We are inclusive to all, regardless of age, race, color, gender, nationalities, etc. The AICP-MA, the Massachusetts branch, is actually located in Revere, and it has been operating for over 25 years. We currently have up to 600 participants as of January 2022. We hold multiple yearly activities that some of you have attended that are culturally diverse and inclusive, and here are some examples of what that looks like. So what is our mission? Obviously, the AICP has a mission and is the most important part of the community. And some of them are, we really want to create a safe environment for all of our youth especially. We want to build lifelong intellects, and this is important again for the youth because they are our future. We want to build a harmonious relationship with other communities, irrespective of their religion, around Revere and Massachusetts in general. We want to shape the youth, and we want to protect the character of the youth. We also want to create future leaders. Again, the youth is the most important part for us is in our future. We want to build a selfless member of the community rather than, so we want our members to be selfless and be part of the wider community. We want to build a culturally diverse academic environment, and I'm going to get to that in a bit. And we want to build social platforms, for example, sports, school, which again we're going to get to, Scouts and Women's Association, which we're working really hard on building, just to make life a little bit easier for the Islamic community here in Revere. So how do we do that? One way is through the TIES. So the Islamic Education School, which is short for TIES, it's under the umbrella of AICP. So it's a private, non-profit religious school, and it began over 25 years ago, and it was key in addressing the community need for a safe, academically strong, and religiously excellent school experience for Muslim American families. There are several national and international TIES schools. There's 3 located in the United States currently. One's in Philadelphia, one's in Fort Lauderdale, and one is in Anaheim in California. And so what we want to do is we want to extend that TIES experience to Revere residents. And of course, we're not going to bite off more than we can chew, so we wanted to start off by opening just grades K-2 and gradually add grades throughout the years as our resources grow and as it makes sense for us to do that. We want to offer curriculum equivalent to the Revere school system. Some have been touched on in today's meeting, which were absolutely amazing. Again, it's going to be based on the Common Core and state standards. We do want to add Arabic, Islamic history, and religious studies to that. So that is our goals for the school. So in brief, today's request is going to be to approve the school. So we have been going back and forth with the education board, the Massachusetts Education Board, and they sent us to you guys because you are the only ones that can approve this school. And then once approved, we hope that you can provide us a list of documentations required and guidance on how to proceed with that. and potentially a point of contact assigned to us to get the process started and answer any questions and many of the questions that will arise from this. So that is the end of my presentation. Let me stop sharing, and we're happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. I'm sure the rest of the team as well will be happy to answer them.
Do any members have any questions or comments? Mrs. Rizzo.
Let me start off with, I love the meaning of Anura, the light. So I really liked reading about it. I was looking at one of the schools, Anura Islamic School in New York, and I was looking at their handbook. And although you might not be related, it gave me some ideas for some of the questions as far as students that might be dismissed or not allowed in the school. Is there any, if it was behavioral, social, emotional, are any of those qualities, would you not allow the student to go into that school?
I think I can take that question. We will, the school will be inclusive to all, of course. We will not be dismissing kids based on any sort of behavioral issues. In fact, our key is to improve on that and to help them and to guide them through the education system while supporting them to improve their social and behavioral issues that they might have. I can't see any reason to dismiss a child except for, I mean, I still can't even see actual reason, unless anyone has any suggestions. Rowan, I know you want me to just...
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that An-Nur, the one you mentioned in New York, is totally different from what our school is. We're called, our Saturday school that we currently have is called An-Nur School. So it's different from the one that you might have saw online. We're not part of the one in New York. We actually are part of the official private school that we want to open is called TIES, the Islamic Education School. So if you want to look more into the ones that are already opened, we can like definitely send you the websites from the California branch, Florida branch, and Philadelphia branch.
Yeah, and the other thing is we are, this entire process is going to be new to us, so we are going to look to you for guidance on what is best and what is the best way to move forward with this and what are the best protocols that we can put in place for the benefit of the students.
Thank you so much for the information. It makes me happy to hear what you've just said. Thank you.
Mr. Franti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to know how many students would be the maximum amount that you'd be able to take?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer a question and then someone else can jump in on that. So that will actually depend on the building, of course. And so this is new to us, so we're going to look to you to determine what the capacity is based on the building and what are the requirements for that. Rowan, I think, has an idea of how many kids we have in Saturday school and what is the projected.
Yeah, so it also depend on the ratio, the teacher-student ratio. So we are planning to open just grades kindergarten to second grade. So it would just depend on like who's interested first, and then also like our maximum capacity, like, and the student teacher ratio as well.
Do you guys have a building right now, or are you looking to purchase one or rent one?
So we have a building, but again, it depends on what are the requirements for the building. We are happy to rent or purchase one if that is required. Again, we want to do what's best for the kids, and so we will do whatever makes sense. Our goal is to receive some guidance from you guys on what is required, and then we can move forward from that.
So as we speak, you don't have a building then?
We have a building.
Where is it?
It is in Revere, on Marble Street.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Of course.
Ms. Milbury Ellis.
My question is, it echoes Mr. Ferranti's question. I'm interested in what the projected student enrollment is, if there's any idea that you may have now, you know, based on maybe inquiring with within the community, whether you have any idea as to how many children you're thinking that you could enroll if this were approved. Thank you.
Rawan, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so based on our Saturday school right now, we do have a Saturday school that's open. We have currently about like almost 100 students enrolled just in the Saturday school. So our plan, like when we start getting what's required, we want to see who's going to be interested from. First, we're going to start with our Saturday school. We're going to see from our parents who's interested in signing their kids up. And of course, as you guys know, in Revere, there's a big demographic of Muslim American students. So I'm sure there's going to be a big interest in our school for those who want to just sign up for a private school for their kids. So we're still not sure exactly the numbers, but we want to, like once we get the ball rolling, then we'll start seeing the interest in the community.
I want to quickly jump in on that. I want you guys to understand that we're just starting, and we want to start from simple to complex. So we're taking it by step, and it's going to be based on what recommendation that we get from you guys. So we're not just going there to just bring a lot of people. We want to start gradually until we get a desired results. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanre. Ms. Milbury-Ellis, did you have another question? No. Okay. One question I have, and I know it's early for you all. It sounds like you're still in some of your planning stages, but I assume, I'm making an assumption here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume you're going to be charging some type of tuition. Do you have any idea what that would be, or you know, it may be too early at this point, but are the other schools that you're associated with, what's their tuition rates, and kind of what would members of the community be looking at having to spend?
Yeah. And I think you spoke to the other schools, so you know a bit more.
So based on, because we are going to be a private school, obviously you guys know that we're not going to be funded by the government, or we're not going to be getting like mostly grants. We're just going to be basically getting our money from tuition. So we're just going to be looking at the demographic of the area of what Revere private schools are charging. And one of the schools that you might be familiar with is the Catholic school. I forget the name. I think it's I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so we're just going to be we're going to be the similar to that school. Whatever they're charging, we're going to be similar to what they're charging.
I just want to add in here that our goal as well is to educate the kids, right? So our plan is to charge as little as we possibly can while still have the school running. So again, we're not here to make a profit out of the kids. We genuinely just want to educate the kids and create a safe environment for them.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Thank you, Mayor Origo. And first, I want to applaud you on your initiatives for presenting this, and I think it's a great idea. But I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you were going to be following the Common Core. Do you have a curriculum already written out, a plan for K through 2, or is that something you're still working on?
So Roman has actually started working on this. Roman, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so based on our other schools, we're going to be following what they're teaching as well, their curriculum. And then I also contacted, I think her name was Danielle. I forget who, but I contacted someone and they were telling me that you guys are still working on the curriculum and you might be changing it. So I didn't really get a straight answer on like what curriculum the Revere School has right now. So that's kind of why we're here today too, is because we want to get in contact with someone to tell us what the Revere curriculum is, and that way we're going to implement whatever you guys are teaching. We want to teach as well, because we're going to be following the same curriculum as the Revere public schools. We're just going to be adding Arabic, Islamic education, yeah.
Thank you so much for that information. I look forward to seeing your curriculum plan when you get it all put together and get back in contact with Danielle, and, you know, it sounds great.
Thank you.
Any other members? Mr. Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It doesn't sound like you'd be opening this September. You're thinking the September of 23?
Yeah, potentially, I think. It's a little too last minute to open up this year, but I mean, we want to get the ball rolling and see how we go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Ms. Milbury Ellis.
I would be interested in seeing more of a plan laid out as far as what this school entails in its entirety. It's clear that you're at the infancy of development, and I just think I would need more information to kind of let marinate. I'd be interested in knowing, I know you said superior education and you'd be following Revere's, but Common Core is for the most part on its way out. I mean, at least the schools seem to be moving away from that and incorporating other teaching models. I would just be interested in seeing a better plan as far as what specifically the school would be comprised, and provide us with more information to consider.
Yeah, of course, we can get that going. Our main goal of this meeting here and our little presentation to you is to get a better understanding of what you require from us, so that we can give to you in this process of, you know, getting the approval to open up the school. So we can definitely put together a more solid curriculum if that's going to help with that, and if there's anything else that you require from us, we can put that together and then represent to you or send that out to you, if that makes sense.
I think that would be great. And what I would add to that curriculum piece is maybe just some information about how many days in each year will the kids go to school, how long would a school day be, what would that day be comprised of. I don't know if anybody can think of anything else. And we do I don't know if Dr. Mokaber is here. I know that she's the one that you spoke to, Rowan. I don't know if you want to chime in, but I would just say that we follow the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. That's our curriculum, and we break it down into the units that we teach. You want to?
Yeah, and one of the, I directed her to refer to the website for our curriculum documents that are updated annually. In particular, what we spoke, the area that was not solidified was the different literature books, the texts that we were reading, and I know that was something that they were interested in, and that was something that we were at the time and still are undergoing a change in our literacy program. So those were the texts that we have not. She can certainly look at the ones that exist currently, but there may be some new additions that are forthcoming.
Great, thank you.
This may be more of a procedural question for the district, but what, other than an approval from the school committee, what's the process for them to get to the point where they may be open in 2023?
So that's a great question. As you all mentioned in the presentation, this is my first time down this path as well. I know that the school committee has to grant approval for them to open a private school. Beyond that, I believe there's not a whole lot that has to happen. They have to register with the Department of Education so that they know that they exist. I probably would write a letter that says that I've looked over the curriculum and it looks satisfactory, or something of that nature. But I think the key thing is going to be having the vote of the committee. for them to proceed.
Okay, and does the committee need anything else from us? Sorry.
She asked if the committee needs anything else from them.
Do they want to vote tonight?
Did you want the committee to vote tonight, or, oh, they're saying they're not prepared to vote tonight.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what do we need to do to get that vote, and when can we get it? I mean, what are the requirements that we need to present to you to get that vote? Maybe something that you guys will look through, and then we know, because it is the approval that we are looking for to be able to start working on when to start and when to open the place. So if there is anything you guys want to tell us about that.
I know we've mentioned a number of things around curriculum and possible dates of opening and how the process will be played out. Perhaps it may be good for us to look at our record and come up with a formal request in a letter written from the school committee to all of you saying, here's what we would like to see, and maybe we can get back in touch and figure out how to get you back in front of us and answer some of the questions that we had. Ms. Todd, did you have?
Yeah, that's a great summary, Mr. Mayor. I just, and I've spoken to some of you folks before, that I have reservations about the building. I'm not sure what conditions it's in now, but when it was a TV studio and when it had a number of other endeavors that met in there, I have some real reservations about the safety of that. So I'd want to see some kind of occupational permit from the city or from wherever they get that. That would be very important to me. And to make sure that it wouldn't be overcrowded, that there would be the number of students that it could accommodate, so that we know that the kids are safe and that they could get out in a fire drill. That would be my primary concern, is for safety. And then after that comes the curriculum and a series of numbers and whatever else we need, whatever else you think we need, because we want to be supportive. But since we've never gone down the road before, I know I've said that to some of you, that we have never done anything like this, so we're learning too. And we just want to be clear that we don't, we want to be sure that we don't jump to any decisions too quickly without having a real sense of communication with all of you, and a sense of we understand your mission. You know, I myself went to a private religious school. I understand exactly, you know, what it's like and what it's for. And so I know I know clearly that your motives are only of the highest caliber. So, but I'd just like to be clear on some of the details of it. Thank you very much, but it was a nice presentation.
Thank you. So, so far I have the curriculum, the dates of opening, a year, like what a year in prospect looks like, and the occupational issue with the building. We can put that together. That's not a problem. Is there anything else that we can prepare in advance to send to you? We can send you a document. If there's also a contact person that we can go to and have this communication with, or would it be better to just jump on another one of these meetings next month? I know we're all learning, so.
Yeah. So I think that maybe if you and I communicate back and forth, if you want to send the documents to me, and somebody has my email, I'm not sure, but I can put it in the chat anyway, you can all see it. But I think that would be a good starting point, and we can try to iron out any wrinkles and then have you come back and present to the school committee, and they would know that basically I was saying I've looked at it and here's what I think of, you know what I mean? So they'd kind of have that little bit of an endorsement.
That sounds amazing. Thank you.
Ms. Milbury Ellis.
Dr. Kelly, would you think the mayor had just made a proposal that perhaps we could send a letter to them? Because right now we're trying to think of things off the top of
Yeah.
our head, but I'm sure when we go back, there's a lot more involved in opening up a school than that. I mean, you'd want to know, the certification of the teachers, of the staff. You'd want to know that there were correct policies and procedures in place. And these are things that I would suggest that maybe you do some preliminary research on, and then come back to us and say, okay, these are the things we think are necessary, and this is what our plan is. I don't think it should be our plan. We shouldn't be,
Right,
it
yeah.
shouldn't be our plan. This is your school. So I think the mayor had a great idea. Maybe we could formulate some ideas, look back at maybe our schools and some of the things that we have in place, and, have some type of idea so we can give them the expectations that we'd want them to at least address.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can work more closely with Dr. Elshell. Did I say your name anywhere near correctly?
That was actually perfect.
Oh, great, okay. And we can do, we can communicate back and forth with each other and figure that out. But I will absolutely see if there's anything else. I'll also call the department. You probably talked to Russell Johnson at the Department of Education. Did either of you talk to him? He's like the assistant commissioner for curriculum kind of deal, but I'll give him a call and see if he has any suggestions too.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other members? Seeing none. Thank all of you for your commitment to our children, and thank you. We hope to have a good outcome for everyone, and certainly for our community. So thank you for your interest in your initiative.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the last item, the last new business item, the Northeast Regional Vocational School vote on January 25th, 2022. Vote is to authorize funding for a new vocational high school. So just an FYI, or Ms. Rizzo, anyone? Oh, Dr. Kelly?
Sure, if I could just, we wanted to make sure that everybody in the community was aware of this vote that's coming up next week, so that people could take the time to step out. And I remember the election site is at St. Mary's. St. Anthony's, okay.
Yep.
All right. From 11 to 6. And, what I'll say as a superintendent of schools, I know it is a difficult time for residents to think about all of the funding that is going to schools between the idea of the new Revere High School and now this vote for the Northeast Vocational School. But I would urge residents to support this initiative. I believe strongly that all kids deserve to go to school in an environment that is conducive to learning, and these 50, 60, 70-year-old buildings are just not that. So if there's any way that I can, if somebody's thinking, what should I do? Is this going to take money away from the new high school? It's two entirely different projects, and I would urge everybody to please go out and vote to support the reconstruction at the Voc as well. There are over 300 Revere children who attend that school every year, and they are as deserving of an effective learning environment as the kids who stay here at our own Revere High School.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Any other members? No? Oh, Ms. Milbury Ellis.
I would just second Dr. Kelly's endorsement on voting yes for the new vocational school. It's absolutely necessary, and not all kids learn the same, and we need to be able to provide an educational opportunity, that mirrors the different needs that we have within our community. So again, I would encourage all to go out and vote January 25th, St. Anthony's Church, 11 a.m. until 6 p.m., and vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will do the same and encourage everyone to go out and vote. I do, I know that, as Dr. Kelly alluded to, that folks may be feeling like this is going to take away from the high school. That is absolutely not the case. Our kids all of our children that go to high school will have great resources and great facilities allotted to them if we do vote for this, and I encourage everyone to do that. So with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn until February 15th.
I make the motion.
Motion seconded by Ms. Gravellisi. Roll call.
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo.
Yes?
Mr. Ferranti.
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi.
Yes.
Mr. Kingston.
Yes.
Mrs. Milbury Ellis.
Yes.
Ms. Ty.
Yes.
Arrigo.
Yes.